Good morning, everyone. My name is Melanie, and welcome back to A Slice of Heaven Homestead. Well, sometimes you gotta backpedal a little. Now, especially with doing a YouTube channel. I filmed something about a week and a half ago that, well, is not really relevant anymore today. Things are changing so rapidly with this whole virus thing, and yeah, plans have changed. So I'm gonna show you what I did before and talk to you about the things that have changed. So as the weather is warming up here in Japan, it is time to harvest a few things, and it's time to prepare our garden for some spring planting. Now the first thing that I need to do is to harvest this. So I have been calling this thing a cauliflower and it turns out that it is not a cauliflower at all. It is actually called a Romanesque broccoli. And I've been waiting and waiting, thinking, oh, it's gonna turn white and then I'm gonna get to harvest it. It's never gonna turn white, it's a broccoli. So we got back from Chiang Mai and it is just starting to bolt. It hasn't gotten beyond the eating point yet. So today I am going to harvest this thing. And then this is gonna be one of the pots where I'm going to put some fertilizer in it, amend the soil a little bit, and plant some seeds today. Also, another thing that I need to harvest is the rest of these carrots in this pot. I've got some really massive ones here, but these all should be ready, and I want to use this pot for something else. Okay guys, that is not too shabby for half of a bucket of carrots. Now we have been taking carrots out of this bucket just as we needed them, so that's why it was only halfway full. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed. Now this planting season, I already said I'm not going to try too hard because at the end of the summer, all of this is going to be ripped out. I'm going to lose all my good soil, and it's all going to be packed away and moved to Florida. So I'm not trying too hard with the soil, but I do need to amend it before I plant anything. I am going to use this fertilizer here. It's just a chemical fertilizer. So it is a nice even fertilizer. That means it's got equal amounts of nitrogen, that means that it has equal amounts of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Now those are all essential for a good healthy plant growth. The nitrogen helps for making the leaves green, it helps for foliage, just promoting the leaf growth. The phosphorus helps with roots And the potassium helps just to get the nutrients and the water to where it needs to be on the plant. Now there are other things that those 3 major ingredients in fertilizer help with, but those are, just the general idea. So as I go through and amend these grow pots with a little bit of nutrients here, I'm not going to add too much. Probably about a tablespoon or so, but I'm just going to mix it into the soil. I don't want to overload my pots with too much. You can over fertilize your plants. Grubs. Now I just love these grow pots. It really doesn't take much to get these to the point where we can plant our little seeds and seedlings. The soil never gets compacted in these. It's always nice and fluffy, which is great for the root systems because roots like soft soil so that they can dig their roots down. Grub. All right, we're ready to plant our green beans. Now I am planting all of my garden seeds quite early this year. We live in zone 9A here in Japan, so there's not too much of a threat of like a deep freeze in between now and when the actual growing season starts. But like I said before, I am leaving to go back to the homestead here in just a couple of weeks. And we will be in Florida for about a month or so, a month and a half. Yeah, I don't really want to neglect my garden for that long because we have such a short growing period before we move in September. So I am planting all of my seeds early, crossing my fingers and hoping we don't get a deep freeze and that everything will be great when I get back. Yeah, I'll let you know how that goes. All right, on to the next. Now a few of these pots had things planted very recently, like this where I had my carrots earlier today. Now this has a bunch of little tiny roots in it. That's okay. These roots will actually break down really nicely and add to the nutrients in the soil. It doesn't take them very long to break down, so I'm just going to leave them all in there. And these little tomato seeds I'm not planting very deep. I'm just barely pushing them into the soil and then covering them with about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of loose soil. Next is the zucchini and the yellow squash. Well, everything's planted. It's definitely not the way that I like to plant things. I like to start seeds indoors or in a greenhouse, but I just don't have that luxury this year. Okay, so obviously when I filmed that, there were no travel restrictions yet. Well, there are now. So I have been this last week canceling rental cars and well, I haven't canceled my flights yet with Delta because the wait time on the phone is over 6 hours long. So I have to do that in the next couple of days so that we can at least have the option of flying out some other time after this whole quarantine and travel restrictions and stuff is off. So it is what it is. I completely support it. What they're trying to do is to slow the progression of the virus so that they can kind of stagger out the people that need to be in the hospitals. So they're not overloaded with people. You know, you see things in the news like Italy right now is struggling with the amount of beds that are available, and they may have to start picking and choosing, kind of like a triage situation, and that's not good. That shouldn't be. So by limiting everybody's exposure out in public, they're trying to decrease the amount of people that are exposed and the people that get sick so that they can be able to take care of everybody as it progresses and as they get sick. So I do understand that. I'm not bitter. You know, sometimes you just got to be flexible with life, you know, things happen. So last week I should say, last week I planted seeds directly in my grow pots because I was planning on leaving them for an extended amount of time. Since that is not happening, I am going to be starting some seeds in, I don't have a greenhouse, so I'm going to start them inside in little containers over by a light that I have above the kitchen. I'll show you that. Yeah, it works just as well as like a grow light, and that's what we got here. So I did find last year that seeds that are started inside or in a greenhouse or inside, they do tend to sprout faster. They germinate faster and they grow a little bit faster, so that by the time you're ready to plant them outside, they've got a really good head start. So that's what I'm planning on doing. I do have a couple of things that are actually coming up, so I'm really happy about that. That's one of my green beans. Okay, that's the only thing that's coming up yet. So oh, it is what it is. I needed to plant something beautiful, so I got me some flowers. And I'll just go ahead and plant these around because they bring me joy, and I need a little bit of joy and comfort, especially if I'm going to be stuck here at the house for a while. I'm sure there's a lot of you guys out there that are experiencing the same thing with a little bit of cabin fever. And you know, some of us are just content to be home for long periods of time until, of course, you're not allowed to leave. Then it's a different situation. So I guess there's good parts and there's bad parts as to, you know, what's happening in society right now. We're just rolling with the punches and trying to get through it with a little bit of joy, you know. We're not letting it panic us. We've got food stocks, not a whole lot. We've got enough that we can probably last about 3, maybe 4 weeks without ever having to go to the store. So that's good for us, but I think we also have enough that if one of our neighbors is hurting for stuff and they can't get out, we'll be there. We can share. And you know, I've seen a lot of other homesteaders, a lot of people out there with their vlogs, they've said the same thing, and I think that's the right kind of attitude to have. So guys, stay safe. You know, it's just a sticky situation, but stay safe, stay healthy, and guys, spread a little kindness and encourage one another today. And until next time, we hope you find your slice of heaven too.